Have you ever spoken about what happened with the PS5 giveaway publicly?
No.
How are you feeling right now?
Nervous, but I'm ready for people to hear my side of the story.
Welcome back to the Weekend Roundup, everybody. Happy Sunday. Glad to see your beautiful faces again. We have a very interesting episode for everyone today. It is not what we are used to. We have Jada Nahas on with us today to talk about modeling, influencing, and
The scandal.
The scandal.
The PS5 scandal.
which I'm assuming most of you are here for. If you're new here, welcome. This is the Weekend Roundup. I figure we're probably going to get a lot more listeners that aren't regulars.
Yeah.
So we're the Weekend Roundup. I'm Lauren, and that's Maddie. And thank you for joining us today. We did want to talk a little bit about the Jada interview before we got into it. So if you could kindly maybe not skip ahead and
let's
hear
just
what we have to say.
A few housekeeping items.
Yeah.
A few housekeeping items. If you don't know what the PS5 scandal giveaway thing is,
Good thing for us to
we
preface.
should probably explain it, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So basically, Jada was giving away a PS5 on Instagram and disaster struck.
Yeah,
Her texts got leaked.
Yeah.
They were a little controversial. We read them in the interview.
Which was awful. I
So
fucking hated
awkward.
sitting across from somebody and being like, is it true that you said all these horrible things? And like reading that to her face, I would have swallowed blades than do that in that moment. But I had to do it in the name of
Interviewing-
journalism.
In the name of some hard-hitting journalism that the Weekend Roundup is trying to
Yeah.
get into.
Our
maybe
new
not.
investigative series.
I don't know if this is really for us, but
Yeah.
I'm glad we did it once.
Me too.
I will say, on the note of journalism, we didn't really get any actual proof. Like, we didn't see any of the text or any of the emails she mentions. So that's one thing to keep in mind while you're watching the interview.
Not to say that anything
Not
she
to
said
say,
was fake.
yeah,
but
not saying it's not true.
just saying
it's
we're not interviewers.
verified.
So
It's
we
not
don't have it.
verified. But still, I think it was a good interview. I think, it's good to hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
And also just answer some questions that I've just been honestly wondering.
Yeah, so we really get everything out of her that we could. Got a lot of interesting. I mean, I'm really excited for everyone to hear the thing about the texts. But I think it's important too, just before we jump into the interview, that I know when this first happened, Jada got a lot of hate online, and that's kind of what made it blow up into what it is now and why she's here, because it got so much attention. But just want to say that, time has passed. Jada, talks about how she feels in the interview about that time and how she reflects on it now. And I think that every single person listening, whether you're from Twitter or whatever, and you're just here to find out what she's talking about, you're completely allowed to have your own opinions. Everything that she says, you can feel whatever way you want about that. That is your prerogative. Agree, disagree, up to you. But I do think that we should say that we're not really hoping or looking for any disrespectful hate towards Jada after this. Like, we don't want to restart up that whole thing. Everyone's allowed to have opinions. Comment your opinions, tweet your opinions, do what you want with them.
Respectfully.
Don't be disrespectful.
Yeah, just be nice about it. Like, you don't have to agree with everything she says, but just be cool about it. Don't be an ass.
Mm-hmm. If you walk away from this interview and you still are one of those people who hate her and whatever, that's your move, man. But there's no need to
Send death threats or anything.
harass
Just be
her
cool
or
about
anything
it.
like that. Keep your opinions respectful. You can comment them here, but overall, I hope you enjoy the interview. We are not good interviewers. We tried our absolute best. And
We'll stick to storytelling.
We'll stick
to storytelling.
Yeah, we know what we know.
Yeah.
And stick with the stuff you know, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy the interview, everybody.
Enjoy the app.
Hey, it's Maddie Mills. And I'm Lauren, and this is The Weekend Roundup.
We are back. Welcome to the Weekend Roundup podcast. Jada, thanks for coming in tonight. We're really excited to have you here.
I'm super excited. Thank you guys for having me on.
You're welcome. Yeah, so we haven't had a guest on in our new studio yet.
Yeah,
so
you're the
I
first.
think the only two guests we've had have been Ate and then Corey and Damon, which one we did over Zoom, and then the other one with Ate we did in my room on the floor, drunk with chicken nuggets.
That was a bad.
That's a vibe.
So and so it was a little bit different than this. Way better quality. Happy about that. Do wish we had the chicken nuggets and wish we were a little tipsier, but we'll make do with what we have.
Power through.
Yes.
So Jada, we already did an intro, but I guess introduce yourself in your own words. I'm stuttering already, but tell us a little bit about you.
All right. Well, yeah. So my name is Jada. I'm born and raised in Halifax. I definitely have grown to love this city. I just recently graduated from Dalhousie. Hopefully returning back for my MBA in a couple of months. So looking forward to that. But other than that, yeah, I really like social media. I'm into photography. I like to ski. Started to pick up snowboarding, so that's been fun.
Nice.
And I love to travel. So those are a couple things about myself. But I'm sure we'll get into some more things in a second here. So I guess I'll save that.
What did you take at Dal?
So I studied urban planning.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was originally going to go to architecture school, but I just kind of like lost my passion for it. So I was like, I need to pivot towards something else. So,
Fair.
yeah.
And you also do influencing. You've been influencing for a really long time.
Yeah.
That's how I first found out about you was through Instagram and everything. So have
Right.
you always kind of wanted to grow an Instagram following? Did it just happen?
Yeah, I think it just kind of happened. I'm not sure at what point in my life, people decided to start following me. I think I would just post a lot of like my travels, stuff like that, and people were into that. And then one day I just decided I wanted to do a giveaway. And then ever since then, it just started picking up from there. So I just thought to myself, this is something that I could do as a side hustle. It's a fun hobby. So I was super into like fashion, photography, all those things. So I figured, why not? Yeah.
And did you model first and then influence, or influencing and then modeling? Because I feel like they go hand in hand, because
Yeah,
all
it's
of your
kind of a
modeling
pipeline.
pictures
Yeah.
go on your Instagram.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually was doing more influencing stuff beforehand. I actually just recently started modeling professionally in 2021.
Cool.
So that came after the fact. I was always interested in modeling, but like anyone who knows me knows I'm like super insecure about my nose. And I was always like, I do not want like a photographer taking photos of me and then that getting, because it was just something that I was super insecure about. But I was actually approached by my agent, so I wasn't actively seeking it.
Right.
And then she kind of just like instilled this confidence within me, and she was like,
That's
"No, you would be
awesome.
such a good model. Like, let me train you. Let me help you and get you out there." And I was like, "All right, let's do it." So
No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I feel like everybody has those things that they just hate about themselves, and it's just like, I just don't want to do anything like out of my comfort zone.
yeah, no, for sure. I'm always making a joke that I'm gonna go like back to Lebanon. I'm gonna come back with a new nose. Maybe not. We'll
You're
see.
like, mind your business if I do.
yeah, I'm like, if you see me with a new nose,
It's just a new girl.
Yeah. Knew you.
That's so funny. Like, everybody has these little insecurities that nobody else would notice, because I felt like I was the exact same one when we started recording.
yeah,
like
100%.
I didn't want to
Right.
be on camera at all. I didn't want
Yeah.
people to see us, and I'm still not totally comfortable with it. I think it definitely comes with time being in
Yeah.
front of the camera, because
Absolutely.
it's unnatural.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get into more fun things. Because this is a dating podcast, it would truly be a crime if we didn't ask about your dating life. What's your relationship status?
So I'm single.
Question mark.
No, like I am single. He's not gonna listen to this, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But there's one boy that I do like. It's really complicated, honestly. Like it's
I mean,
been
when is
going-
it not? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this has been going on like on and off since I was like maybe 15, 16. Yeah, it's
Not
one of those. Yeah,
Not
it's
one
one
of
of
those.
those. But it's actually like it's really healthy and it's really nice. We're actually
Yeah,
really good
that's good.
friends outside of everything. But yeah, no, for the most part, I would say I am single, and I like it that way, honestly. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
fair.
Have you had other dating experience, or is this kind of like that one guy that you always just...
Yeah, no, I've had I want to say like 2.5 boyfriends. Like I don't think one of them really counts.
That's fair.
Both my exes are ginger, which is so funny to
I don't
me.
see you with a ginger.
Yeah, and you know
type.
what? That's not my like on paper. That's not my type. So I don't know how it happens.
Were they funny?
Yeah, one of them was.
What do you think like your type is?
Yeah, what
Like,
is your... That's another
what
question.
is your
like, what would your
on
type be?
paper?
If I were to make a list, like I would have my appearance section and then
Right.
like more like qualities and values. So I think
Yeah.
appearance wise, I mean, I definitely like someone with like darker features but light eyes.
Cute.
Like I like
Very
facial
ginger.
hair.
Yeah.
Or
like,
no.
yeah.
Like the thing is ginger is not on the list, so I don't really know how that came about. But anyways, but I mean, other than that, I definitely like someone who has drive and, you know, wants to succeed in whatever's that they do. But I find like typically I just end up talking to athletes, which, you know, obviously has its
Repercussions.
issues. Yeah. So it's nice to actually be able to talk to other people who are like more in their careers and established in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I really have a definitive type. I just kind of like vibe with people, and you know, if you're good at energy and if you're honest, then I like that. Yeah.
I find it so hard to like meet people if you are looking to be with anyone right now, because so much of a relationship comes from vibing it out with somebody.
Yeah.
And because nobody really goes out anymore, or at least I'm not going out.
Yeah.
It's hard because I feel like I'm just going on Tinder or going on Hinge and just checking off boxes
Right.
Yeah.
of what I'm interested in, and I'm not actually vibing with someone because, like you said, like your type on paper is, and what you would probably look for if you were on a dating app is like darker features,
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. But then, you know, you meet this ginger and you vibe it out. Like,
vibes are
I shouldn't have
good.
said that. That's what I know. I'm really driving that home. Never mind. We love all hair colors here. But yeah, it's hard because you're just checking off all these boxes and like not actually meeting someone or connecting with them. And
Right.
then most of the people that you would end up meeting, like, is so cut in half, even if not more. Like, it's just so totally different.
Yeah, I think my problem that I've run into with like dating and, you know, hanging out with boys in general is that I've become really comfortable with being alone, and I actually really like it. So like if someone messages me and, you know, wants to take me out for a drink or whatever the activity may be, I'm always down for it until the time comes, and then like I come up with the most ridiculous excuses ever, and I will fully openly tell this to guys, like I'm the biggest flake. I do everything to avoid hanging out with someone, and I think that's why it is nice for me to revert back to that same boy that I, like, you know, because I'm
that makes
comfortable with them.
sense.
100%.
So for me, it's like going to hang out and spend time with them. I don't really have to think about it. Whereas someone new, I'm like, I just get super nervous, and so
No, the feeling before a first date, actually the worst. Like, I never want to go. I can totally relate to you on that. Like, I'm like, oh, great, not again.
Yeah, and I'm like, I will talk to you over my phone, but as soon as it's about person, I'm like, I gotta go.
You're like, it's
"See ya."
real? Oh.
Yeah, I'm like,
That's
no
awkward.
thanks.
We just watched The Tinder Swindler the other night. Did you watch that?
No, I haven't, but
my
I've been seeing a
God.
bunch of stuff
You
about
should.
You
it.
should watch
It's
it.
Really?
crazy.
Very
It's
good.
crazy.
But the girl in the show said that her favorite like part, or I think she said this, or maybe I'm thinking of something else, but she said that her favorite part was before the date. That is my least
Yeah, that's my
favorite.
least favorite
I feel like I'm
part.
gonna throw up before I go on a date.
You know what? I don't even think I make it to that point. Like,
You don't even go.
Like, I flaked before that.
Yeah, like I don't even get ready and then bail. I like fully bail right before the getting ready
Dang,
part.
girl, no wonder you're still with the same guy you were with when you were 15.
I'm like, I'm not going to put my makeup on and then bail, because I already know I'm bailing. So I'm like,
Yeah,
what's
fair.
the point?
So many people ask us all the time, like, how, because, like, I guess this guy would be, we're getting so far into this, but that's just our nature. We
No,
just love
that's
to
fine.
gossip.
No, I like
We
it.
love the tea.
We get so many questions about people who are, like, you know, with long-term hookups. I don't know if that's what you would define this guy
Right.
as, but long-term hookups, and they want to make it something more. Like, is that, you're kind of comfortable with being single, but you said there's a lot of communication. So do you, like, communicate seeing other people? Like, how do you make that work?
It's actually funny you bring that up. That's been like the one thing that we haven't talked about recently, because we have before, and I feel like every time we do that, it just like makes everything more messy and
Yeah.
complicated. And I think like I have things that I want to accomplish, and I know that he also has things that he wants to get done. So I think we both mutually have like a form of respect for one another, but we haven't gotten into that conversation yet. And every time I see him, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna bring it up, and it just never gets brought
It's
up.
so hard to bring it up. It's so hard to bring it up.
Yeah.
It's literally like the worst thing ever. You're like, so
I know. I literally just like stare at him, and then I'm like, all right, well,
never mind. Have a
yeah,
good
never
day.
mind.
You
Yeah.
probably plan the whole thing out too,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
in the
fully.
shower before he comes
fully.
over.
definitely rehearsed it in the shower always.
Oh, full disclosure, like I was gonna text him earlier and say something, and then I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
No, it's always the drafting
Yeah.
the text and
Yeah,
deleting
and the
it.
notes
It's like,
app.
Yeah. No, my notes app. You don't want to see
criminal.
it.
Yeah, no, we're not going through that.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the tea. Let's get into the
What
real
people want to hear.
What people want to hear. Basically, back in, I want to say December 2019.
2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Oh, well, of
2020.
course.
It wasn't that long ago.
You're like, oh no.
So way back when, in 2020, you posted a PS5 giveaway for a 10 days of giveaways that you were
Right.
doing on your Instagram. You used to do giveaways all the time, and it actually
Yep.
makes sense because that really grows your brand. We did a giveaway
Yeah.
right at the start of our podcast, and our followers went up so fast. I mean, at the time, we probably went from like 90 to like 200, but
Hey,
That's a lot.
it went
It still
up.
grows,
Yeah,
right?
it went up a lot, so it made sense that you were doing them. And from what I remember and from what I looked up, I think the reasons people started talking about it so much. Well, one, this is a personal question. Where the hell did you get this PS5? Because they were so hard to get at the
Yeah,
time
literally.
that I remember that this was like the biggest fucking deal ever.
Right.
That you got your hands on this.
Yeah, you know what? I knew it was going to be big. I didn't expect it to be as big as it was. There was definitely a demand for them. But I actually had a bit of a connection with someone who works somewhere that sells them.
Cool.
And it was something that I was working on for like a while before the giveaway went live. So I just thought it would be really fun to do that. And I was able to get one through them. But it wasn't through like the company. It was
Right.
something I did on a personal level just because I thought it would be something fun. And, you know, I was able
Yeah,
to
it's
do that.
cool,
So I was
for
like, why
sure.
not?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So these giveaways, well, I mean, this one particular, but are you mostly like paying these out of pocket because, I mean, it's probably really good exposure for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So typically, like with the 10 days of giveaways, everything that was given out was just provided from, you know, the company.
Right.
Because on their end, sometimes it was good exposure for them
Yeah,
as well.
definitely.
Especially during the holidays and, you know, with COVID, it was really good for like local businesses. I tried to highlight quite a few of those as well. But the PS5 was completely my own thing.
Cool.
But, you know, I recognized that I was in a position where I could do that and make someone's Christmas. So I was more than happy to do that. But then, you know, obviously.
And then things took a turn for the worst.
and then it went downhill from there. So.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So from what I looked at when I was like looking into it, I think the reason people started talking about it more was people were claiming that it was fake. And I think the reason people thought this was fake was because your roommate had won a previous giveaway. I don't know the story on that.
Yeah. Do you know? anything
Yeah,
about that?
no, I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about, and it's so weird to me. But so she wasn't actually my roommate; she's just one of my best friends. But we were together all the time, and when she actually won, it was me, her, and then one of our other friends. We were in a hotel room because we had to isolate because of COVID,
Right.
and I specifically knew that this was going to be an issue, but I thought to myself, like, why is it fair that none of my friends can win just because they're my friend? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the giveaways on Instagram Live. Because I was like, that way, you know, people
Yeah.
literally see it in real time. So anyways, I went on the software where I can, like, pull the winner. And I was on Instagram Live, and she was in the other room in the hotel. And I literally, like, pressed it. And her name popped up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like she won!" And like that was genuine, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, you know, people took that and kind of ran with it and created their own little narrative about it. But, you know,
So was she like in the live with you? Like, or
she was in the hotel room with
Right.
me, yeah. But she had no idea like that I was doing
Right.
it. And I just yelled to her across the room, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you won!" And she couldn't believe it either. And, you know, I was happy for her, right? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, she genuinely won, right? She did all the steps that were required to enter, and I was like, I don't see why anyone would have a problem with this, like, you know, but
As long as it was like a random generator,
Yeah.
there's not much else that can be done.
no,
with that.
exactly. So, I mean, I can definitely see why some people would question it, but I tried to do it as, like, authentically as I could, so,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. So then we have the unfortunate texts that came out.
Right.
A couple questions. Well, number
Yeah.
one, I think we should read. not to put you through torture, but for people who are listening and not on YouTube, I'll read them. So basically, you should go to the YouTube and see it, because it's like, there's so much on the screen, but it's a screenshot of somebody taking a picture of a phone, and it says, "People are losers and are jealous. LOL. I do more for the entire Halifax community than 80% of the people here, and people talk shit because I have a platform and still call people out, so sucks to suck. Like, just unfollow me then. Sorry, you're too poor to afford nice things and need to win a giveaway." And then the person who sent it said, "Jesus Christ, Jada." And Jada said, "Where's the lie?" And then someone put on the screen in red text, "I'm back, breaking news, TMZ Halifax." Then this is someone putting it on their story saying, "LOL." It's just like a photo of a photo of a photo.
Yeah.
Building up
Yeah.
over time. So sorry to put you through that and read that right in front of you.
Oh, no, that's okay.
So, question, who did you send this text to is what I have always wanted to know.
Yeah, I think that was like the pressing question that everyone had. I'm not gonna say their name just because you know whatever. But it actually was one of my really close friends at the time. So we were having. You know what? The interesting part of that message is that those text messages were exchanged in November. So they actually had no relation to the giveaway that I was doing. We were essentially what happened was they were sending me screenshots of a conversation that they were having with someone who was talking poorly about me. And then I just kind of said like, okay, whatever, I don't want anything to do with it. And then, you know, I felt almost like, I don't want to say provoked, but I felt like I kept trying to just drop the subject and it just kept getting brought up. And then that's when I, you know, piped up and made those comments. And like, I don't justify what I said at all. I obviously can see why it's problematic and, you know, why language is so important. But like that text message was definitely manipulated a bit. There are parts on their end that was taken out. And then I think what happened is they screenshotted that and then sent it back to them. So the whole thing kind of just got a little bit misconstrued. But yeah, it was just interesting because like the correlation between that and the giveaway just didn't really exist, right?
Right.
Those text messages like resurfaced like a couple weeks after. So
it's it never, damn, yeah. So this person, do you think like took the screenshot knowing like that this would get you in shit or with the intention of spreading it?
Yeah, you know what? It's hard to say because I definitely, like, I did speak to them when the text messages were posted.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
And I called them and we had a conversation and they just kept apologizing and saying like it wasn't their intention. And, you know, I kind of dropped that. But then as I looked at the text messages again, I was like, wait a minute, like your messages are gone. I was like, I didn't just write all this out, right? Like there was some in-between stuff on your end. So I was like, how can you tell me that it wasn't your intention to make me look bad when you purposely removed all the things that you had said just to send them back? So that was definitely a little bit upsetting, but I don't think that was their intention. Like I don't think they knew it was going to resurface at that time. Like I hadn't really told anybody about the 10 days of giveaways because this was still mid-November, right? So I think it just was a fluke, really, that it ended up resurfacing. But, like, to be really clear, when I was sending those messages, I was never speaking about everyone entering the PS5 giveaway. It just ended up happening that it looked that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was more so about one specific person that was talking about you.
Yeah, and I mean, not that makes it any better. Like, I'm not saying what I said was okay or justifiable. Based on that, but in terms of like the correlation,
The context.
It was never there. Yeah. So that was that, I guess. Yeah.
How did these end up online? Like, do you know that, like, did somebody post them on Twitter? Did it go on someone's story? Do you know how they ended up becoming public?
Yeah. You know what? I think that's the thing that I've learned, like, being in Halifax is that it's really easy for things to spread around. I do have a few names of like, you know, how it got from one person to the other. But the person who actually originally posted it was posted onto Instagram and I have no idea who it was. Like I kept looking for mutuals we had. There was maybe like 2 or 3. So I had no idea why they had the screenshot to begin with or how they were, relevant to the conversation I was having.
Right.
To this day, I'm still really confused.
Like,
yeah, but it got out. So
Is it that we don't have to put this in? Is it that person? That name?
no,
It's not.
no,
Interesting.
no. I really tried to not fixate on like the names of the people that were posting
Right.
things because I mean,
Hard.
not so much now, but back then I had a really I would get really angry, and I just didn't want to be angry. I didn't want to feel that way, so I was like, I don't want to see these people or see their name or whatever and just associate it with that. So, I couldn't even tell you the name of the person who it was, but.
Do you have proof? Like, do you have the conversation still where they deleted your messages? Do you have it on your end?
Yeah. So I mean, I have a new phone now, but because at first I was like, am I reading this correctly? I was like, I feel like this wasn't the full conversation. I mean, I obviously said what I said. That wasn't edited or anything, but I was like, I'm pretty sure they said some things in between these messages, and I'm sure they might listen to this, so I don't want to say too much because I don't want them to get in trouble because that's not my intention. So, but yeah, I ended up looking back on our conversation and I was like, this isn't 100% correct, but you know, whatever's out there is what people are going to see. So
Do you still have a relationship with them?
Honestly, no, we still follow each other. I've definitely forgiven them, but I don't think that was more so to make them feel better about themselves. I feel like I just needed to forgive them to make peace with the situation and protect my own energy and just move on from it. They occasionally reply to my stories and say nice things. They are supportive of me, and I feel like they've also grown since the situation too. So I'm definitely happy to see that, but I don't think I would ever go back to being their friend just because it did really affect me. And I think they know that. So I don't think I could ever put myself back in a position with them where I could trust them again.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally fair.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, once those texts got posted, it just blew up from there. And Twitter, I remember, was exploding with it. I'm looking at a couple of them now. I honestly really couldn't find too much.
That's surprising.
When
Thank God.
when I was looking through, but I mean, they're pretty brutal. I already told you this off camera, but my friend Mary Beth made the Person of the Year with you're up there with Cortland Cronk, and there's some people were posting the messages on Twitter too, and then somebody posted your story that was a link for mental health, and people were saying that it was tone deaf.
That one really bothered me, actually.
Yeah.
I don't need. There were some things that I read and I was like, okay, you know what, that's actually kind of funny. I was like, I'm kind of impressed with these people's Photoshop skills. But the mental health one actually really did bother me, and I feel like that is something that I've wanted to address for a while because a few days before all of this stuff was leaked, it was actually the 5-year anniversary of the deaths of one of my friends who passed away from suicide. So that me posting that to my story, the mental health thing, was actually really personal to me.
Right.
And so for them to take that and say tone deaf actually really hurt because I was like, you don't know what people are experiencing. And I can see, again, from their perspective, why it would be tone deaf. But at the same time, I couldn't really understand, the correlation between what was happening and how they would, take that and, make it seem like I was, posting that to be, malicious of any sort. I genuinely posted this because I care about that. That was one of the tweets that definitely did actually upset me, and it's one of the ones that I do still remember. But yeah, again, I think that's just very telling of how people don't realize the things that they post can actually hurt someone. And I think Twitter was brutal. Yeah, people were
I'm looking at it.
Yeah, people were posting stuff on Instagram, and I was like, you know what, whatever, it is what it is. But this, oh my gosh, Twitter was really, really bad, and it just got to a point where I couldn't look at it anymore because I was like, no matter how tough you are or whatever it may be, like, you cannot ever be prepared for, like, that amount of people actually, like, saying things about you. Like, there were tweets with, like, over 1,000 likes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this is no good, right? Yeah. So, yeah, that one definitely bothered me.
Yeah, and I think, too, I mean, to your point, you never really know what's going on behind the scenes, you know,
right.
From their perspective, they're seeing, you know, two completely conflicting representations of who you are, and they're so tone deaf. It's in the head now. They're so drastic from each other that's I think, but I understand where you're coming from too, where you had a different meaning behind that post.
Yeah.
That
right.
post, you know, to other people just looked like, you know, throwing it up there, but
exactly,
people really don't know what's going on there. I think another thing, and I think honestly, as uncomfortable as it is to talk about, I think that the reason people were so shocked by this is because you are really known for influencing and for modeling too, but you also have a really well-known family in HRM.
Right.
And I like one of these tweets here says, you know, wish we were all as hardworking as you. Must have been hard being born into money. How was that like? And how do you feel about when people talk, you know, about that?
So I feel like I could go on about this for a really long time. It's one thing to talk about me, and I feel like that's something that I can deal with, but I do get really protective over my family, and I feel like once people started, you know, talking about that, that's when I had a really hard time just not saying anything. And especially, again, like where people just assume that they know you. Like my parents are both immigrants from Lebanon, and, you know, I didn't grow up into money. My dad literally is probably one of, like, the hardest working people I've ever known. Like, everything he's ever done has been to support our family and give us a better life, and he's definitely achieved that, and I look up to him a lot. But, again, people just assuming that I was born into money, and I was just like, that's not even true, right? So that was definitely hard for me to not respond to, but at the end of the day, like, if that's what someone's perception of me is, then so be it. You know, they already obviously don't like me, so what can you do?
Right.
So then, like you said, you've had a really hard time not a really hard time, but you had a hard time not responding to people because, you know, they're talking about your family, they're talking about you. I feel like I probably would respond as well.
Yeah.
So I think I could only find two.
Yeah, I think those were the only two.
So one, I think this was to the mental health one, said, you don't know me, so stop acting like you do for some likes because you think this is quote unquote trendy. If you have a problem, you can message me. What's pathetic is you thinking you're any better by posting this. I know who I am. Worry about yourself. And then the other one was, please stop twiddling your thumbs on Twitter like you know me. I'm currently in contact with a certain organization and just finished a presentation on an affordable housing site on a street, by the way. It's living with housing insecurity, not homeless. Two things. I know a lot of people made a lot of memes about the last statement, it's people living with housing insecurity, not homelessness.
Right.
I don't know what the correct term is. Why do you think people took that and ran with it?
Yeah, you know what? I honestly don't know. I mean, like, looking back at those tweets, I do know I deleted them, I think, pretty shortly after, because I was like, you know what, honestly, like, there's nothing I can say right now that people are going to, like, make the situation any better. I was like, I just need to, like, shut up and just take the heat. So, yeah, I don't know why anyone would see anything wrong with, like, that, because technically speaking, like, because I used to always say, like, homeless people, but I've, like, learned that that's not really the correct term. Like, that you should either say people experiencing homelessness or people living through a housing crisis, something like that. But I don't, you know what? I think, like, I was just really angry. I always used to make a joke that I have Twitter fingers. I think I could have worded those tweets a little bit better, but I do still, like, I can see where I was coming from and what I was trying to say. Obviously, I don't think the point was made, but
That's something that Maddie and I both study PR, and something that I was talking about earlier today before coming into the interview with one of my roommates who's also in PR is we were saying what our professor always tells us is just to shut up until you're not emotional. Like, you know what
absolutely.
I mean? Because when you're coming at this, there's a lot of emotion behind these tweets. You're seeing a lot of things that aren't true. You're frustrated. You're angry. You know, you're not going to get your most cohesive and best way to represent yourself on social media. So I think that you helped yourself out a lot by only sending out, 2 tweets. Had you gone off more? Because that's the number one thing that we learn in school is the more you talk, the more wrong things you say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that's something I have learned over the past year and a bit. Like the whole situation has really helped me kind of be more rational with my thinking and actually think before I speak. I always tell myself like to give a 24 to 48 hour rule. And if I really feel so strongly about it after the fact, then sure, like go and say something. But 9.5 out of 10 times I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God I didn't say something. Because
I live by that too.
Yeah.
I feel like I'll always spaz out and then I'll be like, oh, it's not a big deal.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, definitely happy I didn't say as much as I wanted to. I think that a lot of that had to do with like my sister and my friends. They were definitely a really big support system in the whole situation. And anytime I would message them and I'm like, I'm going to say something. And they're like, nope,
don't.
They're like, just deal with it. Yeah, no, don't do it. So,
yeah.
What was your family and friends like when all this was going on? Because I'm sure it was really difficult on you, your mental health and everything.
Yeah, I mean, my friends were definitely super supportive. They know me, right? So they were also having a hard time like seeing some of the things that people were saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Because 9 out of 10 times things aren't posted on social media, so they couldn't really understand like why certain people were saying some things. But that was from their perspective, and they would try and defend me, whether it was on Instagram or Twitter or whatever it may be. But then they were the ones that started getting attacked. So it just got to a point where I told them I appreciate it, but honestly, don't even bother. Let's just deal with this like outside of social media. And that was really nice. My family, I didn't tell them about it at first because it was just a lot and it was super overwhelming. And I think, coming from a foreign family, there's definitely like it's not as an open conversation as it might be for someone else. So I had a really hard time with like, how do I bring this up to my mom or dad? And then eventually I think they just found out through the grapevine, and they were just kind of like, why don't you come talk to us about this? So we actually ended up like sitting down and having a whole conversation about it. And, they offered me some really good advice, and I almost wish I had told them sooner because this wasn't until like maybe 3 or 4 weeks after the fact. So yeah, they were obviously really supportive, but I do wish I went to them a bit sooner because I think it would have been maybe a little bit more beneficial. But again, lesson learned.
Definitely.
So what is/was the Helping Hand Fund, and does it still exist?
So I grew up as a dancer, and we always had awards at the end of the year. And I, like every single year for I think 3 or 4 years, I would win the Helping Hand Award. Like just for helping the girls get ready backstage or, anything like that. And I always wanted to start a nonprofit. It was just like a goal of mine. And during the pandemic, I was like, okay, I'm going to start a nonprofit and base it around mental health. Because again, that's something that I do feel really strongly about. But there was the explosion that happened in Lebanon. And I said to myself, there are so many organizations and charities and local people that need the support. So I was like, why don't I just generalize it? So that was kind of how the Helping Hand came about. It was essentially just a nonprofit to fundraise for various initiatives. So it does still exist, like legally as a nonprofit. I haven't done anything with it in a while. Just because there was another situation with that, and we can get into that.
Okay, what was that situation? I don't think I know anything about it.
So long story short, for my birthday, this was 2020, So this was, my birthday was like 2 or 3 days before the PS5 stuff happened.
Okay.
And I told all my friends, I said, I don't want any gifts, but I would love to get donations because I want to make care packages to give out for Christmas. And they were like, okay, no problem. So on my birthday, I got donations from a bunch of my friends, and it was really awesome. So we ended up creating all these care packages. And at the time, I had my nonprofit Instagram page, and I just posted on it, and I said, we're supporting this organization. If you guys want to bring donations, feel free to do so. And that was it. That was the only thing I ever posted to do with them. And then I was in contact with them like back and forth for a couple weeks, and they were super excited about it. They were obviously really grateful. And then the PS5 stuff happened. And then, someone took it upon themselves to, I don't know if they showed them like the text messages or just sent them an email or whatever it may be. And where they are an organization that does, help people like living with the housing crisis, they realize maybe on their end that it wasn't really the best decision to be working with me. So on New Year's, I just go on Instagram and I see that they made a post about me. And I was like, what? Like, just so confused. So I go on my email and I see that they sent me an email. And it was pretty much just like, we saw your messages. We don't agree with this. We're making a post about you. And that was it. There was no like conversation or nothing. And obviously I'm still dealing with the repercussions from the PS5 situation. So now I'm like taken back again, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is literally a nightmare. So then, yeah, we started exchanging a few emails. My friends definitely did help again with that, because obviously I was really angry and frustrated. And then, long story short, I pretty much just said, I understand you don't want to work with me. That's completely okay. However, like, this isn't about me. I still want to be able to give these care packages because I made them, and, and they essentially just said, give them to another organization. And I was like, okay. But their post made it seem as though like they never received any donations from me, and that I took donations from people and just never made use of them. Like, I don't really know exactly what it was, but again, it was a completely misconstrued situation, and they were the ones that didn't want to accept the donations from me. So that was really frustrating. And I think that was, when I started to like question the nonprofit as a whole, and I was like super disheartened. So, yeah.
Is that kind of where it died off for you?
Not necessarily. Like, I think I did continue to do a few smaller things after the fact. But I do think I realized, like, having a nonprofit is not a one-person job, and it's something that I'd probably have to revisit and actually take more time to, set into stone and get moving with. So, yeah, as of right now, it's still registered, but I am not doing anything with it for right now. Yeah.
So looking back on the whole situation, do you understand why people were upset with you?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I think at the time, I definitely felt like I was in a position where I wanted to almost victimize myself. Like, I was just like, I couldn't understand why people didn't feel bad for me almost. And then, the more I thought about it and as the weeks went by, I was like, okay, honestly, no, like what I said was wrong. I would definitely be upset, if I was in someone else's position. And if I am going to be in like a influencer, that type of status, I do need to hold myself a bit more accountable and to a higher standard. So, yeah, I can definitely see why people were upset. And I think I almost didn't think of myself as an influencer back then. So I was, again, confused why anyone was really, like, super upset about it. And then now I'm kind of like, okay, it doesn't matter. Like, if I have a platform, whether I want it or not, it's still a platform. And, I do need to be a little bit better. So, yeah, I definitely see why people were upset and bothered. Again, I do think there were some people that just wanted to say something because they knew that they could get a couple of likes out of it. I definitely had a lot of conversations with people who were really open to, speaking with me and educating me about why what I said was wrong. And that was really great. I was super happy to do that. But then there were some other people just saying things that had no relation to the situation. And then that's when I kind of was like, what is going on, you know?
Yeah.
It was like, either educate me or what's the point of this? But I think that relates back to just like cancel culture and yeah.
Have your opinions on cancel culture changed, or how do you feel about cancel culture now being, I guess, can we call Halifax canceled?
Oh, I've been canceled. I've been canceled for sure. Yeah, I do think cancel culture is really toxic. It can just be so like damaging to a person's well-being, and I'm certainly someone that is always wanting to better myself and grow. So if someone were to approach me and just say, hey, you said this made me upset, this is why, then I was more than willing to talk about it with them and actually, you know, listen to what they had to say. Because obviously, like, I don't want to make people upset. That's never my intention. And I don't want to be ignorant either. So I was really happy to have people, like, willing to have those conversations with me. But, you know, then you have those people that are just fully like, this girl sucks, I hate her. Like, I saw some people saying how they knew me in high school and this and that, and I'm like, I've never had a conversation with you in my life, like, why are you saying this, you know?
Right. But
so in that sense, it's just like, I don't understand why everyone is so quick to want to cancel people. I just don't understand why we don't want to like help each other out and you know, educate one another. So I definitely do think cancel culture is toxic, but
for sure,
it's hard to say because there are definitely situations that I've looked at in terms of like celebrities and I'm just like, oh, nope, you're done. Like, what the hell is going on? And again, this might just be like from my own perspective, but I don't think I deserved to be canceled in the way that I was based on what happened. But I guess that's just my own opinion. But it definitely was a lot.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Check Twitter.
Yeah. No, don't check Twitter.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
You're like, don't look there.
Yeah. No, I've never looked back.
Bottom line, end of the day, what you said was wrong. And I think
Yeah.
that, you know, you did say it in the confines of a private conversation, which is really unfortunate that ended up being leaked. I'm sure we all say things in private conversation with friends that, you know, would look really bad on us out of context or
Right.
posted publicly. So I definitely sympathize for. See, I told you I was dyslexic before we started recording. I wasn't joking. So I definitely sympathize for you on that level, that invasion of privacy. I understand where people were coming from because I didn't know you or know
Right.
the situation. And on my end, someone who was watching it, you know, going to your Instagram, seeing who this person is and seeing, you know, these beautiful trips and then, you know, starting and finding out who your family was and
Right.
everything, it definitely shaped an image of you in my
Absolutely.
head that I don't think does reflect who
Right.
you are. But that's because I've been given the opportunity to get to know you and
Right.
hear this story. So I do hope that people, you know, give it a chance to hear you out. But I think it's just a really hard conversation because especially like looking around where we live, Halifax has a really unfortunate housing crisis happening. You know, we saw everything happen a couple months ago on Spring Garden
Right.
Road. I'm assuming that, you know, you still feel passionate about, you know, trying to help people who are displaced.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you can talk on these matters or subjects anymore, can do anything with this since what happened? Which I guess kind of builds into my next question, which was, how do you come back from something
Right.
like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in terms, like, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's hard because, like, I literally have a degree in planning, right? So I've fully studied, like, everything to do with this. Like, I know the laws in Halifax. I know how everything works. I understand, like, the severity of the situation. And I always felt passionately about it. And I always thought that there needs to be a change. But it's almost like the situation that happened. I feel like people are just going to judge me if I try and do something about it or say something about it, because they're always just going to revert back to that one situation and think that that's how I perceive, the entirety of the situation. But again, like, I don't think those messages are a reflection of my values at all. Again, I think I just said those things in a moment of anger. But it's definitely not like the way that I view the situation. And I definitely do not look down on anyone of like a different background or income status. That's never how I was. That's not how I grew up to be. So it is unfortunate that some people, like, that's some people's only concept of me. But yeah, I think I took probably a year, since it happened, really, I kind of stopped doing the whole influencing thing. No giveaways, obviously. I'm definitely still trying to navigate how to come back from it. I'm always like, I'm going to do another giveaway because it's something that I like to do. And, I think it's fun. But then at the same time, I'm like, but do I want to get into, people who are going to say things? It's like, is it worth it? So it's definitely a bit of a challenge to kind of navigate, like, how to get back into it. I do think pursuing modeling has definitely helped because it allows me to get back, like, in front of the camera and work with companies and stuff like that. So I think on a lesser end, that's kind of the way that I've been getting back into it. But I feel like I haven't been able to fully pursue it in the way that I want to.
I mean, for what it's worth, I think you talking about just kind of like what you've learned since, I think that would be super valuable to people. Just because I feel like it's nice to see the growth in someone. And I think that's one thing about influencers is you get to see them when they start and you get to see them like kind of grow and develop and grow their following.
Right.
So I feel like, talking about it now, people might, throw shade or like make memes. But then there's other people who might say, oh, she's trying, like she's putting herself out there and she's trying to, become a better person, which, it sounds like you're trying to do since then. So,
yeah.
Yeah. I think it's awesome that you're trying to, improve yourself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
And learn from the situation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I've always said that I don't think you can judge someone on their best moment and their worst moment. It's more like the everyday that I think defines who someone is, and probably a lot of people heard about you for the first time, through that, or, learned anything about you besides like your Instagram photos through that. So it is unfortunate that it grew into this massive thing. I find Halifax is a really tight-knit city, and it's a good thing at points, and unfortunately sometimes it can be a bad thing too, because I find Halifax is very engaged with one another on Instagram and on Twitter.
Absolutely.
So when things happen like that, it just kind of, it's an echo chamber. It just blows up, right?
Right.
So I guess final thoughts, wrapping it up. If you could go back and change anything about the situation, would you, or do you kind of believe that everything happens for a reason, or both?
Yeah, I mean, I think like on a surface level, obviously I would change it in the sense that like it was definitely a lot to deal with behind the scenes. Like to this day, I still get anxious when I go out, which is something that like I never experienced before. So in terms of that, I obviously would change it, because like, why do you want to feel like that?
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's going to sound really weird, but I'm almost like thankful it happened. I've really learned so much, and like you can ask any of my good friends. I feel as though I've never grown so much as I have in the past year. I've learned like who to trust, and I think before everything happened, I was a super open book, and I would just say anything to anyone, and I just believe that everyone had like super good intentions. So I'm definitely more aware in that sense. And then at the same time, like I find I make a really strong point to educate myself on like language and the things that I say now, like whether or not it's in private or not. I try to really place value on that and importance, because it definitely does matter. And whether or not it's getting posted, I think we should just continue to, speak. In sum, I am grateful that it happened. I've learned a lot, and I've definitely like I feel a lot stronger now. I feel as though I know how to navigate situations a lot more, and I am able to be a lot more rational with my thinking and like responses to people. So, you know, whether or not it happened in 2020 or, you know, in the future, I think, to be completely honest, like it probably would have happened at some point. So it's better for it to happen when I'm younger and like I have the opportunity to grow from it. And if anyone is listening and, you know, might have had like a preconceived notion of me, I definitely do want to emphasize the fact that I have grown a lot from it, and I'm definitely not the same person that I was when I sent those text messages. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Last question on the PS5 situation. We'll move on and make this fun again. This is the $1 million question right here that I feel like everyone wants to know. Where'd the PS5 go?
Should I say? I don't know if I should say his name. Like, I don't know.
So it was given away? Someone won that giveaway?
Yeah, no, it was never fake. I don't even know where that came from. Yeah.
But if you ended up going through with the giveaway, or if you were just like, fuck this, I'm done.
Yeah, I did. I was so like nervous to do it because I was just getting so much heat at the time, and I was like, I don't really want to post anything because it's not the time to do that. But I was like, I do need to give this away, because then people were like, you're not going to give it away.
Yeah,
it was fake, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, screw it anyways. But yeah, it did end up going to a boy over. I think he lives in Dartmouth. I'm not going to say his name because.
Did he post anything about it? Like, I won the PS5?
Yeah, he did. He did, actually. He was pretty nice about the whole situation. I mean, I don't think you would be mean about winning a PS5, right? So, but yeah, he was actually pretty funny. He made a post and he was like, see, it wasn't fake, everyone.
so it went to a good home. It's in a good home now. And
yeah, I mean, I hope he's making good use of it. I'm sure he is.
Yeah. Shout out that guy. He's the real hero in this story. The only one who walked away with anything good.
Honestly.
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you got to get that off your chest, because you never spoke about it. And, you know, I think people do deserve second chances for the things that they've done. And I think that you have grown from what you've done, you know, that what you said was wrong. That's not something that's up for, you know, debate or question.
Yeah.
But
right.
There has been change there, and I'm really glad that you were open to talking about the situation.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for providing me with like a space where I was comfortable too, because it definitely is something that I've wanted to address for a while. But, you know, it's hard because sometimes I feel like there's nothing I'm going to say that, you know, people are going to accept or want to listen to. There's always going to be someone out there that's just going to say like, no, you still suck. So, so be it. You know, I feel strongly about, you know, like the growth that I've done ever since. And if you want to base your concept of me on that one situation, then that's fine. There's nothing I can do about it, right? So
fair.
Yeah.
You can't change people's minds. You don't want to be changed.
Yeah, exactly. So
is there anything else you want to say? Last chance to get anything out about the PS5 situation.
Oh,
then
gosh.
Close it forever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is something that I could talk about for a while.
Yeah.
I think maybe like a couple months ago, I was definitely more closed off about it and more anxious. But at this point, I've reflected a lot, and you know, there's always going to be, I think, like questions that people have or things that maybe I want to say, but. I mean, I think I definitely addressed a lot of it.
Good.
At the end of the day, yeah, again, like I don't condone what I said, but, you know, I said it. So all I can do is own up to it and acknowledge that, you know, it did hurt people and move on. Yeah.
Has anyone ever said anything to you in person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like what?
I was walking past Boomers one time, and these girls like yelled at me outside of, they were in a cab. And I was just walking, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so poor." And then I've had another big group of girls outside of Nellie's, and they just started screaming. Yeah,
girl on girl crime.
I know, and they just started screaming like PS5 at me. And there was a few other situations. So yeah, people are definitely gutsy. They don't really care. But I do feel like it is important for me to say that like. People's words actually do affect others. And I always, you know, told my friends and my family, I said, like, I never felt like I really experienced like cyberbullying. And and some other people might say like, oh my gosh, you weren't getting bullied, like you're being dramatic. But it's like, you're not seeing the messages I'm getting. Like I was getting emails. I was getting literally like really, really nasty messages. And it's like, okay, you might not be bullying me. But there were definitely people who were. And I'm definitely lucky that like I'm in a position where I am tough enough to deal with it. But like I've had people say to me, I don't know how you're, dealing with this, because if this was me, like I would not be doing so good. So again, I think if anyone is listening to this, like it is something to keep in mind, because it definitely does hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jokes are jokes, but you can't be doing anything below the belt like that.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
not what we condone at all,
Right.
So, yeah, I think let's close the book
Yeah,
on the
I think
PS5.
that's
done.
And let's move on.
I don't want to hear about a PS5
No.
ever again. I'm like, they're coming out with the PS6 soon. I'm like, can we move
Yeah,
on?
new giveaway
when's that
alert.
Yeah.
You guys heard it here first. Jada's going to be giving away the PS6. Jada, thank you so much for coming on. It was an honor to get your exclusive. We really had our Diane Sawyer
Yeah.
moment here. So thank you so much for your time and for coming on today. If there's anything you want to plug, now's the time.
Oh gosh, I didn't have time to prepare for this. Oh my goodness, no.
Shout out
I
your
don't-
socials.
Maybe I'm not gonna do that just yet. I'm like maybe next year.
You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, give me some time still. I need time. Thank you guys so much for having me though. This was super fun, and I hope if you've made it to the end of the podcast, like that was a lot to unpack. Good
for
for you.
listening.
Yeah.
Great app.
Yeah. No, we love it. Thanks again, guys.
And I
Yeah, no
guess
problem.
the only thing left for us to say is
Talk
soon.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Weekend Roundup. Be sure to like, subscribe, and press the bell button. Talk soon.